Today we are looking at the analysis that I did for the external environment of the quick service restaurant industry. This industry can be defined as an industry full of companies advertising food and beverage products that can be sold at a low price point, delivered quickly with minimal preparation. There is generally minimal table service and multiple ways for the products to be delivered. You see this in restaurants like McDonald's where you come up to the front or you can do the drive-through. Most of these uh, companies will have those options for them. The customers that these industry is looking for is usually a wide variety. Customers are looking for a low price point where there's convenience foods, and the quality of the product is still up there, or is not subpar. The major competitors that you are going to see in this industry are going to be McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, Burger King, Starbucks, and Taco Bell. Those kind of industries are what you're going to see most of the time. Now we'll look at the five forces model for the quick service restaurant industry. We're going to be going over the threat of new entrants, rivalry among existing competitors, the bargaining power of buyers, the bargaining power of suppliers, and the threat of the substitutes available. We're going to be looking at each of these and seeing how they're going to affect this industry. We'll start with the threat of new entrants. Looking at this, I decided, or you can look at it and figure out that it's a moderate, level. You're not too high, not too low. So companies can get in, and it's not going to be super easy, but it's not going to be the hardest industry to get into. And some of this reason is varying capital requirements to join the industry. It can be inexpensive to join, but there are outside factors that can come into play, like location of your restaurant, or what can be expensive depending on where you're trying to pick your spot. Also, you have to buy equipment, licenses, and things like, etc. Also, you're going to have a disadvantage starting out in this industry because there has been economies of scale that have been built and are really well done and large for your big name players like McDonald's, Burger King, Starbucks, places like that. They've done a really good job of building that economies of scale and making it very advantageous for them. Also, you have low switching costs and low brand loyalty. And now this can be a benefit for people coming in, as they can try to pull away some of the business that some of these other places have had. But it can also be a disadvantage once they get going because it is so difficult to keep your customers coming back. And when you see the big names, it's always easy to just pull off the highway and go to a McDonald's instead of a mom and pop shop that you've never heard. So there's definitely an advantage and disadvantage depending on where you're at and how you can do that. Also, there is a high level of retaliation. One example that I can think of is Popeyes and Chick-fil-A when they had the chicken sandwiches. There was a lot of social media back and forth between them and other advertising and things like that really sparked a nice rivalry between them. Next, we're going to look at the intensity of competition. This is high. You have a high number of competitors with a wide range of varieties. You're going to have your mom and pop shops that are local. You're going to have your big name brands that are going to be all over the globe. And there's also a wide variety of products that are being offered. You have your sandwich shops like Subway, Jimmy John's, but then you also have your burger places, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, those places, and you're going to have a wide variety. You'll have Chinese, you'll have Mexican cuisine. There's a huge range of options for you. Again, the low switching costs definitely drives up competition as you're trying to keep your customers coming back. And then there's the slow industry growth. When there's not a lot of growth, it obviously is going to spark competition as you're trying to fight for more market share that's not growing. It's staying tight, staying compact, and you really got to find a way to shine. Next, the bargaining power of buyers. It's high. There's a high number of sellers, a high number of options that they can pick from. There's also a lot of information out there now because of the internet, so the buyers have a lot more information right there at their fingertips to help them make a decision about about the purchase that they're about to make. Again, with the low switching costs, you're again giving the power to the buyer. There's nothing really keeping them there if they don't want to, and if they're willing to try something new. Next, we'll look at the low power of suppliers. Because there's a high number of suppliers, um, many supplies available, and it's difficult for these suppliers to forward integrate into the industry, you can decide that the bargaining power of suppliers is low. With the amount of raw materials and supplies, napkins, silverware, things like that, that is just available for these companies to buy, it really makes it tough for the suppliers. Next, we're going to look at industry characteristics. This is a massive industry. You're looking at over 647 billion US dollars globally. And then in the US market alone, you're looking at 273 billion US dollars. Like I said, again, the growth is pretty low. The average growth from 2015 to 2020 was 2.1 globally. So you're not seeing a large number of growth here, even with how big the industry is. There's really not, you're not seeing the growth that you could see in some of the smaller industries, or probably in tech right now as a big company or a big area where there's growth. And the profitability is definitely taking a hit with this as well. You're seeing a 5-year annual gross margin is going to be 44.27%, and then the net profit margin is 1.67%. This is pretty low. Anything below 5% is pretty low for the net profit margin, and showing that profitability is not really there. After looking at all this, some of the opportunities that you will have in this industry is you're going to have that wide range of customers that are available to you. Also, the industry is very big, so you can get in, but and try to have some success in there. It is tough, but because of how big it is, there are still some spots that you can pull and be successful in. Another opportunity is the bargaining power of suppliers is low. You can try to use that as an advantage and get yourself ahead of some of the other players in the industry. Now, looking at some threats, I do think the threats are a little more than the opportunities. You're going to have high level of retaliation, like we talked about above. The intensity of competition is high with a large number of competitors, low switching costs, and the slow industry growth. We also have a large number of substitutes that are competitive with price and quality. That makes it tough. Buyers have the power, so there's not a whole lot of negotiating that you can do. It usually keeps the price pretty low. There's big name brands that have built the economies of scale that makes it hard to reach their levels for the small and medium-sized companies. And like I said, the low profitability is definitely a big threat. I'm looking at the strategic groups. I kind of did this by the number of products that they're offering and the price. I have Wendy's, McDonald's, and Burger King over in the right side, where there's a lot of products that they offer, and the price is more on the low end. You're not, you have your dollar menu, things like that. You got Popeyes and Little Caesars, because they both have, Popeyes is really known for their chicken. They don't really do much else, and Little Caesars again is known for their pizza. It's on the low end of the price compared to some of the other people that they are competing with. On the high end of price and low end of product line, I did Chick-fil-A, Papa John's, and Starbucks. And in the middle there, I did the Subway and Jimmy John's. Again, they don't have a lot of options that they have, and their price point is right there in the middle, depending on what you're trying to get.